Gentlemen, how we doing today? I'll get this out to you real quick. I'm just really going to take you through a whole bunch of different guys and kind of explain what we're trying to work on here and what we're trying to prevent, really. We're just trying to prevent the arm from being late when you go into rotation. Give yourself a better time of, like, staying closed and, like, where's my arm when I land? And when my shoulder starts pulling right here, like, is my arm in a position where it's in a good set position to fire, or is it a little bit late? So, like, an example of someone who throws late but can get away with it would be Crockett or Crochet. I can't remember how to pronounce his name for the White Sox. This is right before he got drafted. So he's really tall. I think he's like 6'5" or 6'6", really lanky, and he throws, like, very rigid. He's great length and, like, measurables for pitching, like that bird-like figure, you know what I mean? So he'd be that type of guy that has, like, really flexible in his hips and his scaps and stuff like that. So you can see he kind of short arms the ball. He'll still get to here. Like, when he lands, he's completely closed off. His arm is ready to go, but he gets to that same kind of point that you do. The lower half mechanics are a lot different. So that's, like, what we're kind of addressing is, like, he does not camp. Like, as you can see, like, as soon as he starts coming down, he's going forward with his hips, letting his body go, and then the rotation at the end opens his hips. He's not, like, leaning forward or anything. Like, he's completely horizontal with his shoulders on it. So that's what we're trying to figure out for you is, like, how to get forward, how to explode your hips, rotate your hips, and allow all that energy that's been building up to then transfer to the upper half. All right. So, to make it simple for you, like, if I were you, what I would be working on is every time you throw, focusing on one of two things. Either I'm going to focus on my upper half or I'm going to focus on my lower half. When we do pattern drills like plyo balls or when you do like catch play, that's when you're definitely focusing on your arms. Like when we first start warming up, so like the 10 toes and the rockers, but also when you do like lasso drill or figure eight drill or anything like that, like very conscious of like how the front shoulder is unwinding and like making sure that you've landed like pretty much in this spot. Like, not exactly with the glove. I'm not going to go into that. I think, like, naturally I want you to just focus on the shoulder. They pull you up a little bit. The shoulder being, like, right about here when you land. And that'll just help you get to better, like use your trunk better. Like, use all this right here and to pull the arm around as opposed to being open when you land. And when this is actually a really good rep for you. Usually you don't, like, get it this well as far as, like, staying closed, but I think this was 2 weeks ago. But trying to stay close here, not open the front shoulder, like when you anchor down, when your knee stops. So, like, right there, pretty good spot. It's just like what we're doing in the lower half's a little off, but making sure that we're closed, the arm is ready to go, and then we could just fire our trunk. And you can see, like, this, as far as, like, the timing for you, this is a really good rep. Like, you're pretty closed off here. You're in a good spot. We're going to work on the front arm in a second. The way you're doing your lower half, like your back leg, kind of throws you off a little bit. But you can see this, like, as far as where the ball goes, you're going to end up being more relaxed here, more ready. So I think you're probably outside of 90 here. But as far as where the ball goes, like, this is exactly right. Like, a little low elbow, tiny bit. We'll address that in a sec, like, towards the end, because I'm going to just explain something to you as we watch all these guys. But, like, as far as a straight line, like, getting to the tip of this whip, like, whoosh, like, at the very end, that's a really good job. And that's why, like, you do throw really well. Like, you have good arm action, like, towards the end of your throw. Like, you know how to do it, which is a big problem. Like, I'd say as far as, like, arm action goes, that's the biggest problem, is that some kids will... I just had someone up. Hold on, let me see if I can pull it back up. It was Murray from a long time ago. Where is he? I'm not usually on this computer for these. Dan, I think that's a full review. Yeah. Oh no, we can use this one. Okay, so this kid's on our 15U team. I'll make this a little smaller. So it's the same problem you have. It's just a different reason for it. Like, you reach back too far in the back here. Like right here. You get this, like, inverted W. It's not terrible. Like it's actually like a little outside of it. You just need to be more relaxed here. Allow yourself to like have more of a loop here, like free and easy, and think more quick, like up to your like reach back position. Or with Dan, and again, this is a good rep for you. So we'll go back. We'll use this one too, which is not as good of a rep in a second. But with Dan, you'll see like this is a really bad arm action here where like he is poking. He's pretty much straight down. And by the time he lands, like the arm is way like on this side right here. And then he'll push his arm forward. So instead of letting it spiral out like you do, he'll end up like pushing his trunk forward and his elbow, especially right there. And that causes a lot of problems, especially in the tricep tendon and bicep tendon. So the arm's like way in front of the body. That's a big like loss of velocity, like for any age. And usually guys, when they get to like 14, 15, they start doing this, and they've been doing it for a while. That's when they start breaking down, because the body starts producing more energy into the arm, and the arm's not able to like properly release that energy into the ball. So that's kind of what like, and he's fixed it over time. But just to show you, like sometimes when it's like one-on-one, you get it like, especially you're not in my brain, you know, about like what I'm thinking. And sometimes it's easy to get like overwhelmed with different stuff and like trying to do too much, especially with pitching mechanics, because you want to be as athletic as possible and you want to feel really natural and absent of thought. Like you don't want to be thinking about any of these things. You know, but I just want to like show you him, just because like I work with him all the time now, and he's fixed all these problems. This is when like maybe 3 years ago. And another thing you'll see is like watch his back hip. So he gets into this like really loaded position we talked about before, where like a lot of athletes feel really way more balanced, even though it's bad when the knee is underneath the hips, as opposed to letting your hips go and like feeling like you're connected to the ground. That's really hard for young people, like a little bit yourself as well. This is what we're trying to learn, is how to get the hips forward, to feel and like understand. So you'll see with him, like as he pushes, there's this push, it just throws his trunk off. Like he like jumps into his front foot. You see that? And we don't need to be doing that. That's not an efficient way of throwing. It's a very like energy meter. I would say if you play like MLB The Show and you ever play like home run derby, and you know how you have like, you could do a power swing or like a regular swing. It'd be like doing a power swing all the time and constantly just losing energy. If that makes sense. I don't even know if you play The Show, but that's a really good example if you do. But that's exactly what that is. All right, so I just wanted to show you that, just because like, you know, as we're going through this stuff, I just don't want you to get discouraged or anything like that. Like you have a lot of time to be fixing this, and you need to take your time in order to do it, and just relax and focus on some of these things. Okay, so we're going to go through a bunch of different guys. Take him out. We just addressed Verlander, so we're going to go through him a little bit. And we're just going to talk about the two major things we've been talking about. We'll adjust the front glove in a little bit, just because you can get better at like how you unload your trunk with that front side. But we'll go through like, and this is not when he was perfect. Like he got really good in his mechanics when he was with the Astros later on. We can see like the sit into the hips and just riding that forward. It'll be quick. Like it's not going to be, it's not like rough or anything like that. Like you're just going to make sure that you're into your glute connected to the ground as you get into this like really athletic position going down the mound. And then watch his arm swing. So you'll see this like really calm swing up to 90 when he lands, completely closed off. And you notice too, like how he's not, if we look at you here, because he's not pushing into his hips, when he stabilizes in that front foot, he's not already like leaning his trunk forward. Like everything's like nice and stacked. When you get older and stronger and taller and all that stuff helps. It's definitely easier to control that motor skill. But it's good to start now, because you don't want to, it's hard when you're older to change anything, just because like the older you get, and that as it goes with life, like changing habits, the older you get, the harder it is to change habits, and pitching mechanics especially. So like, you know, that's why I want you working on it now. I know it's harder, especially like as you grow and get stronger and like more finesse and all that stuff, like it'll be a lot easier for you to do some of these things. So you have some good components here. It's just that when you sit and you unwind this leg, like your hips are definitely not the driving force. Like they're definitely staying here, and you're just like opening this door, and that allows you to open up. Then you like compensate for this lack of forward movement with your hips by pushing off the mound, which is not what we want to do. So you'll see like you'll go into rotation, great momentum, He's like, even at this point in delivery, like, think about like how much it's so important to stay connected and like feel your heel on the ground, feel like you're into your glute. But he doesn't have much power here. Like, he has great momentum. The only way he can get power is to like feel the sensation of sitting at this point while he's going forward, and now he's going to go into rotation. So his hips rotate, there's a landing, and then ball flies out. Super easy. Yeah, that's how you do it. He's like 38 years old now. He just had Tommy John, which like some of the best mechanical pitchers in baseball. Like, he hasn't had it yet, so it happens. He's not like breaking down his career. He's in really, really good spots, and he doesn't even have good hip internal rotation. So that's part of the reason why he gets so much momentum down the mound and like rotates his hips the way he does. It's not clean rotation. It's hard for him to do this movement, just the way his hips are set. Being 6'4", 6'5" really helps him, but that's where we want to be when we land, as opposed to, and he's a little uphill too. Like, here you're almost landed, but that push makes you not be able to stabilize, and then it like makes this go that direction, and your arm's not ready to fire, front side's open. So again, I'm just showing you over and over and over again. Let's use Danny Duffy. So we'll use both reps. He got hit by a line drive. This is the first rep. So like, as you would imagine, he's not trying to do too much here. So you can kind of see like what he does in order to throw the ball harder, which is pretty cool about this little video clip I got. So here he's going to stay pretty tall on his back hip. Goes into rotation. He's a little bit forward tilt, but front side's mostly in. Arm is reached back, so you watch his arm spiral. He's one of the best. Nice and calm. Comes right up. Boom, right there. Anchor down and rotate. Beautiful. And the second rep's much better. So you'll see he'll get his hips way farther down the mound. Really sitting into the hips, holding onto this hinge. Then he'll go into rotation. And here he keeps them much back. And this is like, look how well he's able to, just because his hips got down the mound better here, and like where they are when he rotates or like pushes down, how well he stays neutral here as opposed to this one, where he's already like opening his front side. Like, everything's really tall. He kept his hips back because he was like not trying to throw too hard. And then when he goes to rotate, it's too much this direction. Like, throws him off a little bit. Here's second rep. Rotation, almost into landing. There he is into landing, straight across the board. Arm is ready to go, front side in. Whoops. And then everything out. And then close that. It's because I'm like showing you random people. So I just want you to like see the same thing I'm seeing and like understand it more so. Brett Barrett. So like high arm side, just like you. So we compare you side by side. He's our best pitcher on 15U as far as like mechanically sound and like how he throws too. He only weighs like 130 pounds. He throws like 75. We have another kid on that team who's an absolute monster. He weighs about 180 and throws like 82, 83, maybe even harder now. And we may have like 2 or 3 harder throws on that team. But he's the best one, like finesse and just like a pitcher through and through. So you'll see like one thing we'll end up like playing with is just like how the front glove kind of works here and kind of what you're doing, what we're going to want a little bit more. But either way, you'll see like him riding, like getting his hips forward, riding this beautifully, going into rotation and just like clearing like the best you will see, like better than most major leaguers at doing this. He's, incredible. Like, this is like all-star what we're trying to get to. Cleared the hips, and now this tornado, you can see his shirt and everything like about to pull around and like fire his trunk, and we'll see him in fast motion too. And here is the arm ready to fire, front shoulders in, foot on the ground, rotation, ball out, finish the throw. And he's fixed this. He's actually better now doing this.
No, come on. January 13th. Nice.
And you can see like the explosion at the end, like waiting, being patient. It's just a little off. And that's all lower half mechanics, like clearing the hips and creating that snap, like boom, like clear the hips, trunk fires. Let's see one more time.
January 13th. Nice.
That's all that is. And you probably weigh a little bit more, you're probably like a little bit stronger too. And then from there, it's just like flexibility and doing the motor skill correctly. Let's see here. So this, I wanted to pull up this. So it's like you can see how well you can actually get in these positions. And we'll pull up Glass now in a second. Where is he? We'll do Marcus Stroman last. Verlander can leave. Crochet can leave. Tyler Glasnow, really tall, plays for the Rays. Not really relevant when it comes to, it's just like how he gets into these positions, but how the front side finishes, by the way, and how it pulls around, everything on the same plane, we'll address here at the end. That's kind of like a like perfectionist thing, like what you want to do, like to be perfect in the trunk. But you can see where you guys are at landing and how the trunk unwinds, pulls the arm into the throw, and here, just great job. Pulls the arm into the throw. So it's just so much more clean, and using your trunk and that pec stretch and pull everything around, and you want to like whip it around. Think quick when you do it. As long as your arm's ready, you're good. So we'll go through this rep for you again. Smooth. Stay smooth the entire time. Yeah, just let it fire, man. Glass all the way through. See how smooth that is? You can't be tight or like try and overthrow when you're doing this, especially like how many reps that you do over time. Like you can't muscle through it. And you can tell just how like smooth this is and how relaxed, even though he's like firing the ball, in like fast motion. So that's kind of what I want to do too, is I want to pull up like a guy in fast motion, and we'll use this as the example. So this is Marcus Stroman. Small guy, kind of stout. He's only about 5'8". So guys who are smaller, there's only 6 of them in the major leagues who are starters under 6 foot. I think it's maybe 5 now, but you have to be perfect. You know what I mean? So like someone like myself, I'm like 5'10", and you have to be really, really good at your mechanics. So you'll see this. Like watch the ball first. We'll talk about his lower half here in a second, but watch the ball like get into like this loaded position. So this nice swing. Even here, he's not like, his hand isn't like here underneath it. Like he's still in this like more of like a scap loading position as it gets up into 90. It gets into landing. He's cleared his hips, front side in, arms loaded. And then from here, he can just unwind. So we're going to see it in fast motion. The second, it's pretty awesome. And we'll look at his lower half. So he's just going to sit his hips forward. There's his hips coming down the mountain now. He's riding this down. This discipline. That's all it is. It's just like getting into that feeling, trusting your hips going forward. And when you start trusting your upper half that it's all going to be in the right spot, this becomes much easier. When you're not sure like where your arm's going to be, if it's late, if it's early, or whatever it is, or it's late every single time, like it's really hard to trust your body moving down the mountain. And there's a saying with that where a lot of people feel, and I understand the feeling, is like sometimes when we're working on mechanics, we start getting like a little athletic, which is very true. Like we have to stay athletic and stay natural with what we're doing. But also, when you speed up sometimes, it cleans up problems because your body's very aware of what it needs to do to not hurt itself. Like it's professionally designed over time to function so you don't hurt yourself, especially with pitching. So like a lot of guys will have bad mechanics and they'll get away with it for a little bit. And it's just because their body's so used to throwing, but they'll be sore all the time and this and that, and then something will change. They'll get bigger or stronger, or like they'll change something in their mechanics, and all of a sudden, like, that's that. Like something happens. Well, like if you get in the right spots and you're able to stay relaxed and throw, like it frees up a lot of room for error. Like you start like being able to really focus on what you're trying to do, focus on pitching, and not so much on the mechanics and stuff like that. So anyway, we'll go through fast motion. So you just see, like, especially like as he finishes his throw and post throw, how smooth and relaxed everything is. So that's it. It's like, so we got to pattern it just so the arm has a better chance to survive, especially when we're starting to use the hips a little bit better. And you're starting to go to the mound a little bit faster. And really just trying not to overthrow. Just trying to constantly, like, throwing with your dad or with me or whoever, like, doing plyo wells, just always trying to be closed and throw from here and relax. Don't try and think about your arm. Like, just get it up, relax everything you're doing, still throw it with intent, and stuff like that. We don't want to be a noodle out there, but we're trying to think quick and smooth. Quick and smooth, not long and like rigid, or long and trying to muscle into it. Quick rotation. Whenever any verbal cue I can give you is like, throwing from a stretch, trying to explode like late in the delivery, or thinking like, I think I said to you the other day, like classical music to rock and roll. Rock and roll's at the very end. So you're watching classical rock and roll, out. All right. Again, just everything being ready is what is like really important. It's hard to do this when we're not ready to like fire. And I closed off and hips haven't unloaded and all that stuff. Anyway, so I just wanted to send you through those and like kind of talk about a little bit how we've been addressing it, is kind of how it works with fixing it. It's just constant repetition, constant focus, trying to stay athletic, and breaking that habit. And usually over time, if it's not like a 1 day thing, like, or 1 week or 1 month, it's just that you constantly work on it, and over time it kind of fixes itself and you don't really realize it. And that happens more often than none, where guys will think about like, they'll be working on it for like a month or two, and they'll see tape of themselves and they don't understand how they're doing what they're doing. Like, they're so used to their old ways and they're finally like getting it right, and it doesn't always feel the same way. It doesn't always feel like you're doing it right. Sometimes and sometimes it does. Sometimes it feels like supernatural and you're like unloading the ball, which is what it should feel like. But other times it's like, you feel like you're doing your old ways still, to some extent, and you're actually getting better, or like you don't feel, it's hard to explain. But like, it gets better. Like the more you rep out of it, the better it gets, is the point, whether you realize it or not. All right. So I will talk to you later. You guys have a good night. I'll see you.